Thanks, Andy. And good morning, good afternoon, good day to everyone, wherever you are. As Andy said, my name's James O'Brien, and I'm an education advisor here at Doddle and GL Assessment. So today's session will cover how best you can implement Doddle in your school in order to support students studying at home, and as teachers, what kind of visibility you have over that. I'm on the login page here, but just to start with, let me provide you with a little context on Doddle, who we are and what we do. Doddle is an online learning platform created by Boardworks with over 23,000 resources across 18 subjects. Doddle also operates as a whole school homework setting platform where homework can be set and tracked and key information can be communicated with students and parents wherever they are. In this webinar, as Andy has said, our particular focus will be on how you can assign work for students to complete at home, as well as tracking how they're getting on with their work and sharing that information with parents. I'll start by logging in to Boardworks High School, which is a fictional school. That's my email address and password. Every student and teacher and parent has their own login, so they can access resources wherever and whenever. So I can see a list of all the subjects that are provided here. As we've said, I was a science teacher, so I'm biased towards science. I'll click on this subject area. When I'm first in, I can see a headlines bar here. So if there are any new resources or resources that are in focus at the moment, see them here. Some helpful guides, and then down here in the right-hand corner, any assignments that you have live for students at the moment. I'm going to start by clicking on the Resources tab, which is up here. A huge benefit of Doddle is that we're not just a homework setting platform. We also have an extensive resource bank for you and your teachers to utilize. And we are continually creating new content to stay up to date with curriculums. There are several types of resource offered in each subject area, ranging from detailed presentations to self-marking quizzes and animations. We also have a number of resources which contain vocab lists or audio. These are particularly useful for EAL students, while step-by-step explanations ensure that our resources remain accessible to all students. Let me take you through a couple of the resources that you can access on Doddle. Let's suppose that I've been teaching my students about breathing and I want to set them some work to recap. I'll just type breathing into the box here. Go. And the first option that I can see is one of our very popular mini quizzes. This little logo here just indicates that that resource is tablet friendly. So if you've got students that are using iPads and tablets, you can send this to them. To open a resource, I click on the icon and it will open in a new window. This title page gives me an indication of what the quiz will cover. I can see that it's worth 25 marks. It isn't timed and it covers the mechanism of breathing and measuring lung volume. Let me take you through this quiz briefly so that you can see what students would see when completing the quiz for themselves. I've scored 3 out of 3, which you would hope for a former science teacher. I'll click on next. Now you can see that my work is being marked as I go along. So on this question, let me just randomly assign these labels. We'll see what happens when a student gets the incorrect answers. So it's marked it for me. I will get a chance to see what the correct answers were. And then, before I can move on, I'm taken to a revision or a recap slide, which shows me exactly where my misunderstandings were. Once I've read that, I can click on next, and I rejoin the quiz at the next question. Now again, let me randomly assign some answers. Let's see the marking. 2 out of 3. There's a recap slide to show me what I didn't know. Let me click quickly through a few of the remaining questions, and you can see that they vary in terms of images, text, tick boxes, drag and drop, and they also increase in complexity and difficulty as the quiz goes on. I'll just skip ahead to this same quiz that I completed earlier so that you can see what a student sees at the end. The final slide shows the student the date of completion, their total score, and their percentage. And that information is also saved into the teacher mark book, which I'll show you later on. Students can always have another go at the quiz if they want to, but Doddle will remember what they scored the first time and on later attempts, so that as the teacher, you can see that they are improving. Next, let me show you two other types of resource that you might be able to use in classrooms or assigning to students at home. This purple icon here is for revision slides. Now, if I find that any of my students have struggled with the quiz, then I could always assign them some revision slides for them to work through before asking them to reattempt the quiz. I could always assign this before the quiz as well to make sure that their knowledge is absolutely. These slides are content rich, they are interactive, they have audio.
The breathing system is a system of tissues and organs that are used to absorb gases needed in the body and to get rid of waste gases.
Teachers often like to add their own tasks to these slide decks, for example, asking students not just to read the information, but to do something with it, maybe making a model or turning it into a poster or writing their own quiz questions based on the information that they see. The next type of resource I'll show you is one of the presentations. Some of you may be familiar with these if you've used BoardWorks in the past. They are housed online in our BoardWorks presenter. They are content rich. A lot of teachers like to use these to complement what they're doing in lessons, maybe use one or two slides, but you can always send these home to students so that you know that at home they are accessing curriculum linked high quality materials. Click on Launch Presentation at the bottom here. As you go through, you'll find that these presentations have animations and activities that students can work through at home, or you can work through with them in lessons. At the end of these presentations, you'll always find some recap activities, maybe some games or some quizzes. So again, if you're sending this to students to work from home, they have a way of testing themselves to find out whether they've understood the information or not. I'll drag and drop some answers and then press the check button and find out what I got right and wrong. So I've shown you a mini quiz, revision slides, and a presentation as well. We do have other types of resource in there, interactive animations, full lesson plans, etc. What I'd like to show you now is where you can store your own materials as teachers and as departments. So departmental stuff here is a really valuable area in Doddle where your department can organize Doddle resources and upload their own. So any Word documents or PowerPoints that you've got, you can load, drop into this area so that you can share resources across your department and with students. You can organize your own folders so that anyone who's in charge of Key Stage 3 or Key Stage 4, for example, has ownership of that, and you can assign out to students from there. You also have an area here called My Folders, which is visible only to you. You can upload your own resources here, or you can drag and drop Doddle resources into the folder so that you can easily find helpful content to assign to your students or for your own. So now we've seen where you can drop your own resources. We've seen some of the Doddle resources. Let me show you how you would assign those to students. Let me choose the three that we've used already: the mini quiz, the revision slides, and the presentation deck. and then I will click the Assign button, which is in the top right. It's really straightforward to assign to students. I can see the resources that I've selected. I'll give it a title. And then I have an open text box here to send an instruction to students. This could either be to look at the resources that I've sent them, or if you're not using any of these resources, you could just send them a homework task that you want them to complete. And at this point, I can choose to upload my own resource. If you've got any PowerPoints that you used in the lesson, for example, that you want them to go over, let's take that one. Upload files. And now we can see down here the PowerPoint that I just uploaded. Next, I'll click on Choose Students. The dummy students in this school are in Year 10. Now, I could choose to assign this task to everyone in Year 10 if I have responsibility for that year group. I could select everyone in Class 10A. I could select everyone in Class 10B. Or it might be that I've just got a few students who this is relevant for, maybe in Class 10C. And I could just select them individually and send this piece of work only to them. Next, I will choose dates. Here you can set your start and end dates. Now, one of the really valuable aspects of the assignment tool is that you can set dates ahead of time. So for the start date, I could choose today, but I could choose for this to start in a week, 3 weeks, a month, or 3 months' time. And that tool supports retrieval practice, which is the theory that students will retain more knowledge the more they revisit it. So if a topic is only studied once, it enters a student's short-term memory and is easily forgotten. By revisiting that topic over a period of time, students are much more likely to be able to retain and recall that information in their exams. So if I select a start date that's in the future, students won't see this assignment until much later down the line. I can then sit back and rest assured that students will be reminded of the topic that we're studying now at a later date, increasing the chances that they remember. For now, let me just choose today's date as the start date, when I'm expecting the students to complete it by, and then an expiry date, which is when that piece of work will disappear from the student area. And then I click Assign. The task is sent to students, and it's as simple as that. Now let's have a look at what a student sees when the tasks are assigned to them. I'm going to log in as a fictional student in this school, Adam P. Now, Adam can clearly see his to-do list, what's due this week, what's overdue, and what's due later. He can click into any of these assignments to view the details. So, here's a speed and velocity homework with a mini quiz. Adam simply clicks on that quiz to complete it. Here's the lesson that I just set to Adam's class, breathing lesson, which is due on Thursday, 19th of March. Adam can also click on the Subjects tab up here and go into any of these subjects. Again, he can see any work that's due. He can use the Learn tab to browse the resource bank. So he can use this independently. He's not limited to only what's been assigned to him by his teachers. This enables him to continue studying, maybe even get ahead of his curriculum, using these high quality resources while he's not at school. The only thing that Adam cannot access by himself are the quizzes. We keep these for teachers, and only once they've released them can students start to use the quizzes, so then they can't learn the answers before they're assigned. All students have a submitted button, so they can see any work that they have submitted in the past for this subject. And if they want to, they can always go back and revisit quizzes to have another go, maybe if they want to improve their score. So I can see here, this is a quiz that Adam scored 25% on. If he clicks into this again, he can have another go to try and improve that. So that's the student-facing version. Let me go back now into the teacher area and we'll see the feedback that you get from students on completing work. I'll click in the mark book, which is at the top. We have an overview here so that I can see what work I have assigned to my different classes. Breathing lesson is the one that I've shown you. And if I want to see what's happening across the department, I can filter by all teachers. And then I can see what my colleagues are doing as well, which is a really great way of sharing work and sharing ideas across the department. The quizzes tab up here is where you'll get really, really rich information. Here we can see student scores across a range of quizzes. And I can also see their self-reflections represented by the smiley face icon. So let's take one example. Here's a student called Madison. And on this quiz, speed and velocity, she scored 64%. If I click into this, I can see that she attempted it once and scored 44%. Then she went on and she attempted it again and she improved her score to 64%. That's really useful information to me as a teacher because I can see that she is engaged and she is wanting to improve. I can also look down question by question and see exactly where her misconceptions were. So if I can work with Madison one-on-one, it might be that I want to talk about this question here, average speed, because I can see that's an area that she struggles with. I can also click on the top and I can see the scores for the class as a whole. And again, this is really useful information. This column here shows me question 1 on this quiz. And if I click on it, I can see any students that didn't score 100%. I can see that most of the class here actually really struggled with this. Now again, that's really useful information for me because it shows me that there's a misconception that I need to address before I move on with my curriculum. So maybe when the students walk in the door, if I've got them in the classroom, I can have this question on the board and I can work through it. I can maybe use these students who scored 100% to tease out the correct answers and teach the rest of the class. Once I've done that, I can always use Doddle to set some intervention work. If I'm working remotely, if I can see that there are students who struggled with the speed and velocity quiz, maybe there are some revision slides or a presentation or my own resource that I've created that I can send to them to help them. So you're continually monitoring how they're getting on and helping them to improve. Next, I want to show you what parents can see. Because if you choose to, you can give Doddle access to the parents as well, and they can set up their own personal account. So the parent login screen looks like this. Parents can really easily keep track of the homework that their child has been sent. Now in this case, I'm a parent of Adam P, who we've just been looking at. I can see exactly when Adam last logged into the platform. I can see his to-do list. So here's a piece of science homework. Here's a piece of English homework. I can see the instructions that the teacher has written. So if you are also interested in sending a message to parents, you can do that via that text box. And as the parent, I can also click into these quizzes and these resources, and I can have a look at them myself. It's important to note that Doddle doesn't save the scores that parents get on the quizzes. It only saves the scores of the students. The parents can also see a submitted tab here so that they can see any work that their child has submitted over time. In this one, this is a maths homework submitted on the 11th of March. And as a parent, I can see that my child worked through and completed the resources here, revision slides, presentations, and worksheets, took a test and scored 60%. Now, giving parents access to Doddle means that they can see this and they can encourage the child to go on and have another go and maybe even help them with it. And I'll repeat that Doddle will save that first score that the student gets so that if they show improvement the next time, you know how much they've jumped up by.